Thank you very much, Dr. Beniush, and I want to thank you again, the hosts at the Central European Academy. It's my third conference with them, and they've been getting better and better each time. I don't know what's the limit here. It cannot get any better. My joint presentation with Professor Floare from my university, it's about the statutory benefits for non-traditional families in Romania in relation to child rearing. Because there are, first of all, some statistical facts. The total fertility rate in Romania is about 1.81. These are all data from the OECD. And 1.81 is the second highest fertility rate in Europe. The OECD data said that the highest was in Czechia and Iceland with 1.82. If they're correct, then it's not all lost, but it's well below replacement level, which would be 2.1. Mean age of women at childbirth in 2021 was a little bit higher than 28 years old. Children aged 3 to 5 enrolled in pre-primary education or primary school, 78.3%. Children aged 0 to 2 years old in formal childcare and preschool, only 16.1%. And a very important point of data, share of births outside of marriage, almost 1/3 of births are outside of marriage in Romania. The divorces in Romania, although, as one of the speakers from yesterday said, we have one of the easiest divorces in Europe. You can divorce in court, you can divorce at a notary's office, you can divorce even at a mayor's office, but the latter only for childless couples. The divorce rate is only 1.2 per 1,000 inhabitants. It's probably an average divorce rate, and marriages are still at 4.2, so a bit higher than the divorce rate. Other relevant statistical data, children living with two parents in 2018, 85.9%, so almost 5/6 of children live in traditional two-parent families. Children living with a single parent, 11%. Employment rate for all mothers with at least one child under 15, 68.5%. Proportion of children below 14 that live in households where all adults are in employment, about half. Children where only one adult is employed and one jobless, 42.9%. And children living with all adults jobless, 7.9%. One of the paradoxes of Romanian private law is that apparently it is very traditional. Families based only upon the freely consented marriage between spouses, their equality, as well as on the right and duty of parents to ensure the rearing and education of their children. But marriage is only between one man and one woman, and marriage between same-sex persons is expressly forbidden, and same-sex marriages contracted abroad are not recognized in Romania. But this is only a surface level of appearance, because although the stated principles of Romanian private law are very traditional, there have been underlying recognition of the facts of non-traditional families for at least 70 years. For example, the joint exercise of parental authority by unmarried parents, either living together or separately. This has been a reality for decades. Equal legal status for children born both in wedlock or outside it. I think we, as well as the other Eastern European countries, were getting there before France, which had the last conviction at the European Court of Human Rights was in 2000 or 2001 for the unequal status of children out of wedlock. The possibility of adopting the previously adopted child of the opposite sex consensual partner after factually contributing to their rearing for at least 5 years. We have this for more than a decade. So consensual couples that can adopt together, and identical inheritance rights for both children from marriage and outside the marriage, as well as for adopted children. One of the most forward views of Romanian law is Romanian social law. Because Romanian social law on families is much forward-looking and recognizes other types of families besides the traditional marriage to married parents of opposite sex. For example, social law recognizes single-parent family, a single person and the children in their care who live together. Another social law definition, the unmarried man and woman with both their common and individual children. Another definition from another social protection law, the unmarried man and woman who live and dwell together, even without children. Families also include childless siblings who dwell together who have no joint domicile with their parents. And a single person means, according to social law, unmarried, widowed, divorced, with a missing spouse, with a spouse under arrest or in prison, a legal guardian, a foster parent who is unmarried, widowed, or divorced. And children also include, besides the biological children, those entrusted for adoption, those in foster care or under legal guardianship. Other Romanian positive law provisions applicable to non-traditional families, the child rearing allowance and work leave, which is probably our flagship benefit for families, our most generous benefit for families. It is also applicable for persons who are entrusted a child for a future adoption or those who have already adopted a child, or foster parents or emergency foster parents. So this is not only a benefit for biological parents. And the law on domestic violence, another relevant provision, defines family members for the purposes of this law, also former spouses, siblings, spouses or former spouses, parents and children, people who have established similar relationship as those between spouses or parents and children, the partner's ascendants or descendants, legal guardian, legal representative. So for the purposes of domestic violence law, the definition of family is much broader than the traditional private law definition. In regard to the social benefits for non-traditional families in Romania, they follow the pattern of all families. Besides the child rearing allowance, which is generous, up to 85% of previous income, the others are quite small. So this child rearing allowance is between a minimum of 300 and a maximum of 1,700 euros for up to 2 years for a non-disabled child and up to 3 years for a disabled child. And this is also available for non-traditional couples or for single parents. The other allowances for families with underage children are in the tens of euros or a maximum of a bit over 100 euros. I won't go into very many details, but the other social allowances are not very generous. So after the child is 2 or 3 years old, the state gives very little to help raising the children. One of the issues that we have recently, as I was writing these presentations, was the fact that Romania, following other countries, was condemned by the European Court of Human Rights. It's a decision from 23rd of May 2023, which became final on September 25th last year. Buhuceanu and others versus Romania, 21 same-sex couples. And the court stated, and it was no surprise, we were expecting it for years, probably since the Oliari case, in 2015, Romania has an obligation to provide a legal framework for the recognition and protection of same-sex relationships. States have a latitude on deciding only on the choice of means by which they offer legal recognition and protection to same-sex couples. It does not have to be a same-sex marriage. And all our previous attempts, the court recognized them, besides the government was obfuscating a bit, but all our previous attempts to regulate civil partnerships in Romania were rejected. Just after I sent my presentation, I have heard that the government is trying again to bring forward a comprehensive family law, which would also include some form of recognition of same-sex couples and possibly even a civil partnership for different-sex couples, because we don't have that and we don't recognize same-sex, different-sex partnerships contracted abroad. My conclusions are not as gloomy as some of my previous colleagues have stated. Romanian private law has an apparently conservative perspective, But this conservative bias has been contradicted for decades by applicable statutory provisions which indirectly benefit non-traditional families, which are single-parent or unmarried couples. The only major type of non-traditional family that has never been recognized in Romania is the same-sex couples. Social law clearly recognizes as families a wide array of family type structures: single-parent, different-sex consensual partnerships, couples, persons with non-biological children, and adult siblings. And the latest Buhuceanu decision implies regulating very soon some kind of civil partnership that would also be accessible to same-sex couples. And as a concluding remark, I would say that we should not be so pessimistic and gloomy about families, because the oldest writings that I remember that were very pessimistic about families and the faith of marriages are probably from the 1st century before Christ, because all the legislation brought forward by Augustus had the same purpose, lex Iulia de adulteris, so people were not marrying, they were not having children. Well, the Roman Empire lasted about 500 years after that, and in its eastern form even 1500 years. So the problems are not new, the solutions vary according to the time, and the families, even if they're not traditional families, but families will always be there, and they will always, a lot of them will want to have children. And I think the most important thing is to allow people to have as many children as they want, because there's a lot of unmet demand, people that want children and cannot have as many as they want, due to economic reasons, fertility reasons, social reasons. And only when there is no one left behind, when everyone has as many children as they want, then we can say that maybe there are other issues with people that don't want to have children. But until all the other problems are solved, I think we should stick with those who truly want children and help them, because there is a lot of untapped potential there. Thank you very much.